Hello everybody, welcome to today's video. Today's going to be a little bit different than the usual, game plan, replays, all of that jazz. Today I'm going to be talking about 6 cards that you should be playing if you're playing Legacy this coming weekend. And I'm sure it's going to be relevant the week after that as well, as we, try and follow the metagame development closely. So let's just get into it. We all know Blue-Black Reanimator is a menace, and it's probably not long for this world, but while we wait, we want to combat it as effective as possible. So, enter Coffin Purge. Coffin Purge is a very targeted graveyard hate card that has built-in resiliency to grief. One of the problems with Surgical Extraction, Very Macabre, etc., is that it can be griefed out of your hand before the opponent tries to reanimate. If this card gets griefed, you all of a sudden have a Coffin Purge in your graveyard, and if you hold up 1 black mana, you have a, let's call it a cremate effect online. So Coffin Purge, very, very strong against Blue-Black Reanimator, since it combats grief so well, and also if the opponent has a Force of Will and you have 2 black mana, all of a sudden, it's just very hard for the opponent to fight through. So while we're in this very defined metagame, I feel like Coffin Purge is a very strong choice. Also, we have added value that you can entomb for it in the mirror if you need to. That's a little bit of added utility. So yeah, that card is definitely something you should be playing, whether you're playing Reanimator or other decks. Next up is another one, basically, let's call it a symptom of that disease. We have Dark Betrayal, which is an incredibly narrow removal spell. 1 black mana, instant, destroy target black creature. So, you want this in your removal suite because it's a card that kills Troll, Psychic Frog, and even the fatties and Grief out of Reanimator, even though once Atraxa hits, killing Atraxa is probably not going to save you. But yeah, Dark Betrayal is the only 1 mana card that takes care of all of those cards. Even a card like Dismember will cost you life when killing a Troll. Psychic Frog might even grow out of it if the opponent has 4 cards to grow it. And yeah, this is just the best, no questions asked removal against that deck. That being said, we can't overload on these. We need some kind of split, so we're still live against the rest of the format with cards like, Fatal Push, Go for the Throat, Dismember, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I definitely suggest playing Dark Betrayal this coming weekend and probably a few more weeks after that. Third up here is Veil of Summer, which is, on the contrary to the first 2 cards, very versatile when it comes to its applications. So Veil of Summer is, we can just start with the blue-black situation. It's very good against Grief, it's very good against Fatal Push, very good against Force of Will. Okay, so already there, we have enough utility that this card is pretty darn awesome. If we look across the format, we can see cards like Vexing Bauble, where this can function as kind of a silence effect, which is definitely not bad. And yeah, I mean, this card's seen play out of basically any deck with green mana. It's especially potent in combo, where you can do the kind of the trick against Vexing Bauble. I think Veil of Summer is an awesome card for now. Sometimes you have to cantrip it if your opponent goes, I don't know, Doth the Voidwalker pass or something along those lines. Sometimes you have to cycle Veil and just, cycle your 1 mana card and move on with life. But oftentimes it's going to be pretty good blowout against the black spells. Yeah, I really like that card right now. So now we're on to kind of the second category, so to speak. So I could have done like this, basically. Yeah, we can do like this. So Consigned Memory is a tough one. I feel like people haven't been talking enough about how this card has so much application and has Replicate. So fair enough, you counter a 1 ring for 1 mana. That's absurdly good. You can also counter a triggered ability. And let's say the opponent plays some like Micah Spawns or Ulamog or whatever. Like, this can do a lot of damage. Counter the trigger, cast trigger, and counter the spell. It's really strong. I realize Cavern of Souls is an annoying card, but then you can, when they don't have Cavern, you have this highly undercosted counterspell, and when they do have Cavern, you can counter the various triggers that's going to be in that deck. I'm mainly talking about the search of different Eldrazi variants. And of course, you also have Mystic Forge, like the Karn Forge deck, which is quite popular online. Countering Karn, the Great Creator, for 1 mana is incredibly strong. That deck will probably have, Vexing Baubles or Grim Monolith or Paradox Engine, and just, yeah, 1 mana. It's incredible utility. And the replicate cost, please don't sleep on that. Sometimes you just do it. You might as well replicate. Sometimes you get to counter an ability and a spell. And yeah, this card is awesome. Awesome artwork to boot. This card should be played more in Legacy than it currently is. Next up on the list is Price of Progress. Price of Progress is a card that Grixis Delver has been playing for a while. Sometimes Price of Progress, sometimes no Price of Progress. And I just feel like this card is just so strong because on average, you're going to be the most aggressive deck at the table. And then it's just going to punish any, Dark Depth strategy or Eldrazi Temple strategy, Ancient Tomb strategy. Especially now that the Eldrazi decks are just a bunch of soul lands and they just basically hope to get there. Then this card will do wonders for you in a race. So ideally, this card sees play out of a deck with early creatures. So Grixis Delver is very, very like the obvious choice. There's probably some, 2-color version of Delver that will also like this card. But yeah, Price of Progress can kill players out of nowhere, especially backed up by creature damage, which is quite important. The last card is Winter Moon, which is a interesting one here. Players can't untap more than 1 non-basic land during their untap steps. So that means this card can only see play in decks that either function on very low mana and or have, basic lands of their respective colors. So, for instance, where this card is different than normal Winter Orb, I just forgot the name there for a second, is that it does let the opponent untap basic lands. So this is what we are trying to take advantage of by running this in our, blue-black tempo deck or mono-black scam deck or Jeskai control deck. And we're trying to prey on these Eldrazi Temple, Dark Depths, Rishadan Port, Ursa Saga, all of these decks where this will functionally be a Winter Orb for the opponent, but it doesn't hurt us as much because we are going to fetch our basics and have a good time, right? So 2 or 3 color mid-range or control decks is like the ideal spot for Winter Moon. And yeah, I've seen the card pop up here and there, but in general, I think it's underappreciated in Legacy, and more copies of that card should see play. Of course, we kind of need to alter our mana base a little bit. Maybe we alter our fetching patterns a little bit. But I think it's worth it into this format. Just imagine like an Eldrazi deck tapping out for a bomb, we counter it, then we slam Winter Moon, and then all of a sudden every spell they play is like so much tempo. And it's even a 2-mana spell, so play this out turn 2, and then from there, our opponent is basically casting, first of all, 1 spell a turn, but they have to recharge for several turns to, get back, and maybe we can use the time in the meantime to capitalize on that. So yeah, this was just a small video, which is mainly how to react when, especially blue-black, but also the Eldrazi Menace is on a rise, and adjusting to do better against your most expected matchups is a big part of Magic. You can't just run your same 75 and expect to do well. You kind of have to look at the metagame trends, etc. So I've done some of the work for you, and then it's up to you to execute and win some matches on the weekend. Okay, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this different kind of content. Maybe you're already playing these cards. Maybe you got a good idea or two. Maybe you're more ready to tackle the metagame. Who knows? I hope it was a good one. And speaking of good one, have a nice one, and I'll see you next time on the channel. Bye, guys.